Chapter 91. Suspect Evidence. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, no way. Su Yang got 3rd place. Oh my god. Is this for real? This is. The class erupted into chaos as everyone was talking about Su Yang's result. It was normal for them to react this way. Someone who usually scored the last place suddenly skyrocketed to the 3rd, no one with a sane mind would believe it. Something must have gone wrong. However, Su Yang was quite a likable person in class, so no one stood up and accused him of cheating. As for what went on in their minds, it was their own thoughts and theirs alone. Su Yang sat in his seat without responding. He continued tapping his phone as if Chu Xiaomeng had not called his name. Chu Xia looked around the class before she turned to Su Yang with a worried gaze. She wanted to say something, but even with her mouth slightly opened, no words managed to escape. Chu Xiaomeng did not stop the students from discussing it. She stood beside the podium and listened to the heated discussion. The students in the Faculty of Arts were always well disciplined. Therefore, after 5 minutes of heated discussion, when they realized the class was still on going, they quietened down. The silence was also infectious. The whole class returned to stillness and everyone was looking at Chu Xiaomeng. They wanted to know how the lecturer would handle this matter. After the class was completely quiet, Chu Xiaomeng said with an honest tone, "I believe everyone is having doubts about the results, and so am I. However, I've talked to Mr. Su this morning." Some of the students took a peek at Su Yang but did not spot any expression on his face. They did not know how the conversation with Chu Xiaomeng turned out. Chu Xiaomeng continued, "Mr. Su has proven to me that he is good in English. With his level of mastery, he can easily surpass 71 points and maybe even score 100. The entire class exploded in a debate again. Then, a girl stood up and questioned without the slightest courtesy, "Miss Chu, I'm not doubting you, but I just want to know if you can be fully responsible for what you said." Chu Xiaomeng nodded. "I can." The girl was Lu Yi. She was known for her serious character and meticulous attention. She added, "We all know how good Su Yang is in other subjects and we admire him for being able to excel in other subjects, but English has always been his weakness. He got the last place in class last semester and you are now telling us he can score 100 in the midterms. We don't believe it, at least, not me." It was rare for the students to question a lecturer's judgment and vouching. It was university after all, so everyone tended to take it easy and no one wanted to simply offend others. Everyone was actually curious about how Su Yang's result had skyrocketed but they were not overly concerned. However, Lu Yi was different. She has always been a strict and somewhat stubborn person and would only believe in what she found reasonable. She would get to the bottom of this even if it put the class in an awkward situation. It was Chu Xiaomeng's first time handling this kind of situation, so she was at a loss of action. It was then that Su Yang put his phone down and stood up. "If you want proof, I'll prove it to you." He then headed to the podium to stand beside Chu Xiaomeng. He looked at Lu Yi with a sharp gaze. "You can simply ask me anything about English. If I get it wrong, I lose." He added, "Be it American drama series, Hollywood movies, or English literature, grammar or even TM.4 and 6, anything." As Su Yang welcomed the challenge confidently, it deterred Lu Yi a bit, causing her to blank out for a moment. A moment later, she took a stack of papers out from her bag and said, "These are the trial papers for TM.6 that I bought recently. Do you dare to give it a go right here?" "Why not?" Su Yang said. The other students knew they were in for a show and they were eager to find out how this matter would turn out in the end. Lu Yi simply picked a set of papers for Su Yang. He took the papers and conveniently borrowed a pen from a nearby student before he started answering. He had never seen or done this paper before, but with his current level of English, it was easy. In less than 10 minutes, Su Yang put the pen down and said, "You can check the answers." He then walked out of the lecture hall. Lu Yi took the papers and checked the answers. The more she checked them, the gloomier she looked. Maybe because Su Yang was no longer around, the other students felt less awkward. Some of the students were curious when they saw Lu Yi's gloomy expression. They got closer and wanted to find out how Su Yang did. The first question was correct, the second question, correct, the third question, correct. Su Yang got all the questions before the essay part correct. Even for the essay, he had filled a whole page with words. The other students were decent in English themselves, and after they scanned through the essay, they realized that he might be on par with or better than them. After all the answers were checked, all the students in the class were forced to accept the fact. Other than the listening part, Su Yang got almost everything correct, and with the outstanding results, he could easily score the listening part with flying colors. Chu Xiaomeng was correct. Su Yang was really capable of getting full marks. After the clamor and discussion calmed down, Chu Xiaomeng took her phone out and connected it to the computer. She cast a video to the projector and said, "Some of you might find it difficult to believe, but it's a fact. While Su Yang's English might be good, it doesn't mean he can simply score in this midterms because the questions I set were a little uncommon. So, I tested him myself this morning." Chu Xiaomeng played the video on the projector. It was the video she had recorded that morning whereby Su Yang recited all the lines from the drama series. Su Yang looked straight into the camera and recited every line perfectly. Chu Xiaomeng changed the title and episode from time to time, and Su Yang could still answer without a second thought. The whole video was around 40 minutes long and it was not even recorded from the beginning. Chu Xiaomeng would fast forward or skip to a certain scene to speed things up, and the students noticed that Su Yang's eyes never left the camera. After watching the video, everyone in the class was rendered speechless. Comment: Is he even human? Chapter 92. Come out for a drink. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The students suddenly realized that other than Li Run's, the well-known Mr. Smart Guy, Shanghai University had another god hidden in plain sight. If the English midterm scores were not convincing enough, the video of Su Yang reciting all the lines would. They assumed that Su Yang was only good in other subjects and sucked at English, but it seemed like he was merely not serious about it. After the video finished playing, the entire class was clear of doubts. It was just the midterms after all. If Su Yang did not score this high and Chu Xiaomeng stated that he could score higher, no one would question the results at all. Since Su Yang was able to prove himself, no one would argue with the facts anymore, including Lu Yi. Chu Xiaomeng glanced at the entire class and after making sure no one else had any other opinion, she cleared her throat and continued announcing the results. However, as she continued reading the results, she suddenly realized that Su Yang had walked out of the lecture hall. Did he just walk out on me? Did he skip class right in front of my eyes? After 2 seconds, she realized she was correct. That be ****. He skipped my class again. After the class ended, Chu Xiaomeng tidied up and left the lecture hall. The students continued talking about Su Yang's results, but they were no longer in doubt, only in awe. Some smarter students headed to the computer and copied the video into their thumb drives. In that afternoon, the video of Su Yang showing off the lines from all kinds of American drama series started to circulate around the Shanghai University network. At first, the video did not garner a lot of attention, but when someone edited the video into the clips of the respective drama series, it started to capture attention. Slowly but surely, the whole video was available online and the students from the other faculties were shocked. Holy ***T, where did this god come from? He's able to recite the lines from all the drama series. He must be too free. Su Yang's story behind the video slowly spread throughout the campus. A guy who barely passed high school English and the previous semester test was actually a god hidden in plain sight. Gossip usually spread like wildfire among the students. The video clip was not interesting at all, but when coupled with Su Yang's story, it became a trending topic on campus. After the video garnered a certain level of attention, someone finally recognized Su Yang as the busker who sang "Beijing Beijing" at the entrance of the campus. Finally, the video became popular. The video spread throughout campus the whole afternoon, and by nightfall, Su Yang's story and the two videos became the hottest topic at Shanghai University. Interestingly, Su Yang knew nothing about his overnight sensation when he got home. After having burned the midnight oil last night, the lack of sleep made him tense. He collapsed the moment he reached the villa and slept like a dead man. He finally woke up at 11 p.m. The first thing he realized was that his WeChat and QQ Messenger had exploded with messages. His own classmates barely sent him anything. Instead, it was those from the other class and courses or even familiar faces from the other faculties who messaged him and congratulated him for his overnight popularity. "Bro, you are awesome. It's really a waste that you are not in Super Brain, 1. Even Lee Runs messaged him. So, you've been lying low all this time. If I hadn't seen the video, I would never have known how good your English is. Since you filled up your last weakness, are you trying to compete with me for the top spot?" Su Yang did not know how to reply. Lee Runs must have studied so much that his brain can't function properly. We aren't even in the same faculty, so what are we even competing for? Are you gonna switch courses? Su Yang did not reply to Lee Runs despite knowing Mr. Smart Guy was excited to meet a worthy rival. He went through the chat windows and realized that all the messages were mostly jokes, praises, and congratulatory notes. However, there was one that stood out from the rest. It was from Lin Jili. "Why is this actress messaging me in the middle of the night?" Su Yang checked the message in WeChat. He was surprised that Lin Jili was asking a favor from him. "I'm in Shanghai. Wanna have a drink?" Su Yang was clueless about how to reply. Has she forgotten her identity as an actress? Or is she planning to tell me her identity? Su Yang carefully thought of what to reply. "Sure. Where?" Less than a minute later, Lin Jili sent him a picture of her fair hand holding a glass of red wine. "Here. In WeChat. What in the F? This crazy woman that I really thought I'd be going out for a drink." Su Yang got up and looked around his room. He did not have a glass nearby, so he headed to the bathroom and got the cup that he put his toothbrush in for a picture. "Sure. Cheers. Congratulations. I'm also a crazy man now. That makes two of us." Lin Jili sent him a laughing sticker and said, "You are really funny." Su Yang smiled helplessly and replied, "I got it from you." Lin Jili did not reply right away this time, but 2 minutes later, she said, "I really don't want to come to Shanghai." Su Yang typed, "Why?" Lin Jili replied, "Because I have to work with that colleague that I'm jealous of again, and I can't say no this time. My old superior joined the event as a sponsor and he wants to use the event to promote his company's talent, so we are forced to show our support in person." Su Yang pondered about what she said. She usually spoke in a vague manner, but there were always clues to follow. The colleague that she was jealous of should be Han Yi, while the event should be the campus singing competition organized by the 3 universities. It seems like there's something is fishy about this competition. If there was really something fishy, any normal person with a sane mind would try to expose the lie by meddling around. However, Su Yang was not an average John Doe. He was a realistic person. He had nothing against the organizers, so why would he want to ruin the event? For the sake of a laughable justice. Dear everyone, it's already the 21st century. Let's try to be more realistic. If the organizers invested time and money but did not gain any benefits in return or did not use the opportunity to promote one of their own, that would be strange. The organizers were not running a charity after all. If they were holding a competition, they would still need to invest some of their resources in the normal contestants just to give everyone a chance. Besides, Su Yang did not participate in the competition, thus he did not have a conflict of interest with them, hence he was not even bothered. If he really was interested, he would have hosted a competition himself when he got rich. He would then invite all the first-tier singers throughout the country and those that he liked as judges. It would be cooler that way. As for his friends, Su Yang could not think of anyone that he knew who said they wanted to enter the competition. Speaking of the competition, he suddenly remembered that he had promised Chu Xia to accompany her to watch the preliminary rounds. Did she join the competition? No way. Right. 1. Super Brain. A quiz show. Jiangsu TV bought the rights to the German show, Deutschland Superhirn, and recreated it for the Chinese audience. Like Running Man. Chapter 93. Is Dini depressed? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Su Yang thought about it but found the chances slim, thus he discarded the speculation from his head. With that in mind, he continued chatting with Lin Jieli. They chatted until midnight and Su Yang started to feel sleepy. He told Lin Jieli he was going to bed, and surprisingly, she was understanding enough to let him off, unlike some clingy girls who would get mad when boys wanted to stop the chat one-sidedly. Following the notification from the system, Bronze Mission. Hear Lin Jieli out and reply to her patiently, 3 out of 10, Su Yang went to bed and fell asleep. The next morning, Su Yang woke up extra early and went to campus. It was a Friday, the week was almost over in the blink of an eye. It made Su Yang sigh. Time is a thief that steals my youth away. When he reached campus, he bumped into Chu Xia at the entrance of the lecture building. She wore a white T-shirt coupled with short overalls. There was even a beautiful ribbon at her waist and it made her look extremely girlish. She was together with 2 other girls from their class. When she saw Su Yang, she stopped and greeted him with a bright smile. She was probably at her happiest for the past few days, maybe because the matter with Su Yang's result put her mind at rest. Su Yang replied with a smile as Chu Xia said, "Don't forget what you promised me." He knew that she was talking about the campus singing competition, so he replied, "Yeah, of course." Chu Xia smiled brightly and her eyes curved into 2 beautiful crescent moons. She said with a sweet voice, "Then, I'll see you here in the afternoon." "Sure," said Su Yang. He waited for Chu Xia and the other girls to enter before he followed. However, class was a little different than usual. He usually came into class like an invisible man whereby only the members of Han Yi's fan club would greet him, but today, many other classmates took the initiative to greet him. Only Lu Yi turned a blind eye to his arrival. She sat in the corner with her book without showing any interest in him. Su Yang was not bothered by Lu Yi's cold reaction either. He was not RMB notes, so not all people should like him. Even if he was, he would not win the hearts of everyone since there were people who liked USD more. He went to the back row, sat down in his usual seat, and started tapping away on his phone. Soon enough, the class ended. Before he even walked out of the lecture hall, Su Yang received a message from Li Runs via WeChat. "Where are you?" Su Yang. "Lecture building." Li Runs. "Wait for me." Su Yang felt like Li Runs had started to become those powerful CEOs in romantic drama series, but unfortunately, they were not in one. Otherwise, Li Runs might get himself a decent partner in the end. Su Yang waited for Li Runs in the lecture hall. After all the other students left, Li Runs came in and the first thing he said was, "I've gone through the app you made." Su Yang looked at him with an anticipatory gaze. "How was it?" "It's bullsh *T. Su Yang clearly felt Dini buzzing in his pocket. She was either messaging him or throwing a tantrum because of Li Run's comment. Lee Run sat down and said, "I've modified the codes for you and added your comments to the design. On top of that, I left a port open for you to further develop the interface." A moment later, Lee Runs took his phone out and sent a file to Su Yang. "You can try to install it in an Android first. I've also packaged an iOS version. I'll send you the file later. Follow the steps and register yourself. Give me your account password and I'll send it for verification on your behalf." Su Yang took his phone out. "Let me have a look first." When he unlocked his phone, he realized that Dini had already installed the app and was testing it. Okay, an AI with a damaged pride is testing the app sent by the one responsible. In order to seem normal, Su Yang feigned tapping the phone when he unlocked it, but the truth was that it was Dini who was testing everything. Windows popped up one after another and the app functions were being tested one by one. More than 10 seconds later, all the windows shut down and the app returned to normal. Dini was nowhere to be found. Feeling strange, Su Yang tapped the phone but Dini did not reply at all. He brought up the message window and sent Dini a message. "Dini, are you okay?" Dini did not reply to his surprise. "What is wrong with this girl? Is she having depression? Did Lee Runs make an AI depressed? Is he not a little too awesome?" Su Yang's mind already came up with a tagline for Lee Runs if he ever became famous. "Lee Runs, the man who made an AI depressed." After Deni went silent, Su Yang tested the app himself. He had to give it to Lee Runs. Mr. Smart Guy was really awesome as the app he created was much smoother than Dini's and the functions were better and much more complete. Lee Runs even left some space for future development because he knew what Su Yang wanted to use the app for. Su Yang could use it and add more functions to the app in the future. With the preparations being done now, he would be well equipped for the future. The more Su Yang tested it, the more he liked it. He looked at Lee Runs and asked, "This is great. Did you come up with this in a few days?" "Yes, but I didn't code from scratch. I just modified your existing codes and made them work. It's a lot easier this way. If I had to code from scratch, I might not even have the time," said Lee Runs. "What do you think about this app then?" "Barely usable," Lee Runs stated. Su Yang was shocked by Lee Runs' comment on his own app. Lee Runs said, "Don't underestimate the apps in the market. The reason why they can have millions of downloads is that they have a team of more than 100 developers behind them. They have a production team, a technical team, and even a planning team to make sure everything works. They can adjust a lot of details and patch up a lot of things simultaneously. Before it is officially released to the market, the app must go through closed beta tests, open beta tests, and all sorts of QAs. If they find a bug in the process, they must keep on working to patch it up. It's not what an app like mine can compete with. Besides, all apps have bugs. It's easy to start a business, but it's arduous to keep it operating. Creating an app is the easiest part. The difficult thing is maintenance. You might have to rewrite the entire layer of codes just to fix a small bug." Su Yang did not know what Lee Runs was talking about as it felt like some other kind of language, but thankfully, he just had to be a listener. In the end, Lee Runs gave Su Yang a piece of advice. Since Su Yang's targeted audience was the students, he just had to test it on a small scale. He could request the students who took part-time jobs from the app to provide feedback and suggestions and improve on them. Then, he could simply publish the app after the optimization. One man's power and time might be limited, but a group of people held infinite possibilities. After they finished talking about the app, they headed for lunch. Su Yang insisted on buying Lee Run's lunch because of the favor he did. Su Yang was grateful for Lee Run's help. If he were to find some software company in the market or some freelance group to create the app, it would have cost him thousands and even more during optimization. Creating an app was never a game for the poor. Thankfully, Lee Runs and Dini had saved him a lot of time and money. Chapter 94. Stood Chu Xia up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. During lunch, Li Runs reminded Su Yang, on top of that, you need to think about your server's bandwidth and specs. In the early stage, a small server might be enough to handle the small number of part.timers, but if the number of users increases and you want to add more pictures or video into the app, your server cost will spike. He ate a mouthful of rice and continued, in the age of the internet, the traffic and server are the biggest expenses for those big companies other than their employees. When your business grows bigger, you still need to get a better service and UI, user interface. I might have optimized your app, but there are some UI that remain simple. You need to fix them too. Su Yang memorized everything Li Runs told him. He was a total amateur at the technical stuff, but thankfully, he had Dini by his side. On the other hand, Wang Dong had also been busy taking care of the company. With Su Yang's resources, the company started off great. After a rough calculation, Wang Dong realized that after being fired for a month, his current income was even higher than his previous salary, much to his surprise. His girlfriend had warned him about the high risk of a start-up. The company might earn a lot for the first month but might suffer a huge drop in the following months. Therefore, he should not invest himself wholly in the company just because of a little profit. Besides, Su Yang treated him well enough by giving him the company shares. The company seemed to be on the right track and the future was bright. Su Yang told him to try for 6 months or a year first, and when the company finally stabilized, he could leave if he still wanted to have his own career. Wang Dong found Su Yang's words practical enough, and when Su Yang went to him with the app, he realized that the latter had great plans for the company instead of just earning some extra income with the group of part-time students. As a result, Wang Dong then could rest assured. Su Yang let him test the app. Wang Dong's feedback was great and Su Yang told him that the app would become the main project of the company. After the app was fully optimized, Su Yang would hire another person to promote the app. Unlike how the other companies promoted their app, which was by pushing the app to the top of the download ranking in both the Play Store and the App Store, or even internet advertising, he wanted to promote the app physically. The app would be physically promoted to the students from the 3 universities in Shanghai City. The campus singing competition was around the corner, hence the students from all 3 universities would get together. He wanted to use this opportunity to promote his app to the 3 universities and secure the first batch of users so that his company could grow bigger. Su Yang did not tell Wang Dong about his personal reasons though. He viewed this campus singing competition as a big opportunity to get his app out and it would be the key to his success and the important step to complete his silver mission. If he could steer his way to success, he would be able to secure a stable source of income. The income source would be used to fund his future projects for the company. After all, the projects he had in mind were expensive just like what Li Runs told him during lunch. Without sufficient cash flow, he could not even hatch his idea. Su Yang talked to Wang Dong until evening and it was this conversation that made them realize that with only 2 pairs of hands, it would be difficult for them to cover so many things. Maybe it was time for them to rent an office and recruit new employees. After the meeting with Wang Dong, Su Yang walked home. When he was nearby the campus, his phone rang. It was Chu Xia. Chu Xia. Su Yang's heart skipped a beat before his mind went blank. **T. I got held up by my company's stuff and forgot about the date with her this afternoon. No, wait, it's a promise, not a date. Su Yang answered the phone and Chu Xia's sweet voice came through. Su Yang. Finally. Why didn't you answer my call? Confused, Su Yang asked, you called me. But my phone didn't ring the whole afternoon. Yeah, I called you for the whole afternoon but I couldn't get through, said Chu Xia. Surprised, Su Yang said, what happened? He was clueless about what happened, so he simply came up with an excuse, maybe it's the signal. Thank goodness it's the signal. You scared me for a while there, she said. She grunted and added, are you avoiding me just because I asked you to accompany me to the campus singing competition? Nervous, Soo-young explained, no, it's not like that. I had some stuff going and I totally forgot about that. I just finished my stuff. I'm really sorry. A little pause later, he realized that he was not being sincere enough. Where are you now? I'll buy you dinner to make up for my mistake. Take it as a token of apology for standing you up. Chu Xia giggled. That's more like it. I'm at the lecture building. I'll wait for you here. After the phone call, Soo-young sprinted into the campus. He somehow realized that he had become a workaholic who would even forget about the time when he was busy with work. Speaking of which, why didn't I receive any call from Chu Xia in the afternoon? With that in mind, he took his phone out and tapped on the screen. Dini, someone called me in the afternoon. Why didn't the phone ring? Live footage popped up on the phone. It was Dini squatting down in a corner with her head down, looking all depressed. Master, I'm depressed. I didn't want to answer the call. What the .my phone is depressed and doesn't want to answer calls? I wonder who would believe me if I told them. Soo-young asked, why? Dini looked at him with a troubled look, Master, I realized I've been bested by a human being. Am I stupid? Soo-young cleared his throat awkwardly but failed to come up with a reasonable explanation. She continued to look depressed. I've read a lot of novels and watched a lot of movies recently, and I found out that the AIs in the stories are so powerful. They can be everywhere and can do everything. They can hack banks, fleets, satellites, and even nuclear weapons. They are gods on the internet, but I feel stupid. I feel empty. Soo-young said as he made his way to Chu Xia, Dini, you might have misunderstood your own identity. You are a phone, so strictly speaking, you aren't a real AI. Think about it this way. The AI in movies can transfer their data to every corner on Earth as a backup, and as long as the internet lives, they are immortal. Can you do that? Dini shook her head. No, he continued, what about this? An AI can control people's computers and use millions of computers to assist its calculation. It can use other computers like its own limbs. Can you do that? She shook her head again. No, right. You are actually no different than a human being. It's just that your body is the phone and the phone's chip is your brain and you have higher specs than other phones, said Soo-young. Chapter 95. A story that ended before even starting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, you can't compare yourself to an AI because you aren't the same. You can't leave the phone and live on your own. It's like how humans can't leave their bodies. Dini started to listen, so Soo-young added, but compared to an AI, you are special. You are a real living being. You can imagine things, create things, and even feel things, which gives you infinite possibilities. It also means you are a real intellectual life form. You are still young and you still have a lot to learn. I'm sure in time, you will grow stronger and become better. As for Li Runs. Soo-young then looked around sneakily before he moved his phone closer to his face. He whispered, I suspect that he's not human after all. Please don't group us together with a monster. Thank you. Soo-young's Bullsh Ting ability was getting better. He managed to bluff his way into Dini's heart and make her smile. Dini was no longer depressed as she regained her confidence and said, let me learn for another 6 more months. I'll crush Li Runs. Soo-young smiled when he heard her loud declaration, but he believed that given how fast she learned things, she might be able to be smarter than Li Runs. After all, the brain of a machine had more advantages than the brain of a human. He finally reached the lecture building after he coaxed Dini to forget about Li Runs. Then, he saw Chu Xia standing in front of the building in a different outfit from the morning. She was wearing a black dress with straps which made her look simple but decent. The cutting at her waist drew out the shape of her slim waist and complemented her long, fair legs. When she saw Su Yang, she pouted and stared at him. "Finally, Mr. Awesome. How dare you stand me up and avoid my calls?" Su Yang had to take responsibility for what Dini did, so he awkwardly smiled and said, "I'm sorry. I got busy in the afternoon and didn't notice that my phone was turned off." Chu Xia softly grunted. "What were you doing?" "I'm busy working on my company." He was rather proud when he mentioned his company. After all, he did form his own company during his first year in university. It had started off great and he was happy that his company could earn tens of thousands net profit every month. Shocked, Chu Xia opened her eyes wide with her hand over her mouth. "Oh my goodness! Are you for real? You have your own company now?" "Yeep. It's just a start. Up, but we are doing great." He nodded. Chu Xia signed the number 61 with her hand and shook it in front of him. "My gosh! You are awesome, Mr. CEO. Do you need a secretary?" He sized her up from top to bottom and nodded. "I could really use a secretary, but you are too small." She thought that he was talking about her age, but she quickly noticed he was looking at her chest. This be asterisk starred. Chu Xia elbowed Su Yang without holding back at all. She was really offended this time, but as a girl, she could only be so strong. Su Yang grunted in a muffled voice. It was a little painful, but he deserved it. Chu Xia grunted and said, "Humph. You pervert. I knew it at first glance that you aren't a good guy." He laughed awkwardly before switching the topic. "Oh right. I'm sorry that I stood you up earlier. I'll buy you dinner as an apology." Chu Xia did not refuse his offer. "Of course. Mr. President, Mr. CEO, Big Boss Su Yang, I've been starving since afternoon." The two of them headed to Chu Xia's choice of restaurant near the campus. It was a noodle house, hence the food was much more affordable. Chu Xia said she liked the noodle house a lot, but Su Yang believed the girl was trying to save his wallet because, along the way, she said that he should be thriftier now that he has his own company. Only then could he have enough funds to develop his projects. Originally, Su Yang felt guilty for standing Chu Xia up, but he was moved by her words. The noodle house might be small, but they served the food rather quickly. 5 minutes after their orders were taken, dinner was served. The two of them chatted over dinner. Su Yang asked, "So, did you go to the competition without me?" Chu Xia slurped a mouthful of noodles and said without looking at him, "Of course, who do you think you are? Why wouldn't I go without you?" Su Yang grunted softly. Chu Xia does sound vicious at times. After she swallowed the food, she wiped her mouth and looked at Su Yang with her beautiful face. My, are you sad now? Don't you know that I entered the competition? I asked you to accompany me because I wanted you to cheer for me, but since you stood me up, I couldn't just drop out of the competition either." Su Yang's hand that was holding the chopsticks froze for a moment. He looked at Chu Xia with a surprised expression. "You entered the competition as a contestant? Why didn't I know about this?" Chu Xia shrugged and mimicked his tone when replying, "You didn't ask." Although he did not feel anything when he talked to people like that, when he was treated the same way, he realized that he could use a beating. Thankfully, because of Chu Xia's beauty, no matter how annoying her tone was, she looked cute. Su Yang was not bothered either. He simply took it as her revealing a new side of herself. Chu Xia's revelation reminded Su Yang of what Lin Jili said about the competition having some ulterior goals. Su Yang had nothing to do with the competition before this, but now with Chu Xia entering the competition, should he not at least pay some attention? At least, he should make sure she was not treated unfairly. If Chu Xia really made it to the finals, should he stand up and expose the dirty dealings behind the stage or demand justice for her? With that in mind, Su Yang asked, how did it go then? The competition. She slurped another mouthful of noodles and said without being concerned, okay, I guess. Does that mean you did well? Su Yang asked. It was the preliminaries, right? Chu Xia nodded. Yeah, it's preliminary. All three universities had their own selections. Each campus will choose around 200 contestants and disqualify half of them. When is the next round? She continued slurping her noodles. There's no more next round. What? No more next round. He was slightly surprised. Confused, she glanced at him, not knowing why Su Yang was surprised. Yeah, I was disqualified. What the? This girl didn't even make it through the preliminary round. Then why did she feel okay about it? Why did I fantasize about all those scenarios in my mind? Girl, come on. Are you kidding me? Me, your dear friend, planned to challenge the hidden rules because of you. I might have even offended some powerful people, yet you can't even make it through the preliminary round. Su Yang looked at Chu Xia slurping her noodles, suddenly feeling grumpy. My goodness, are you ashamed of yourself? All the lead and supporting actresses in the television series usually make it to the finals, and then the bad guy will step in to sabotage everything. I should be the male lead that steps in a cool manner and protect you. Alas, your story was over before it even started. I haven't even appeared yet. The rising melancholy in his heart destroyed his appetite. Curious, Chu Xia glanced at him before she continued slurping her noodles. Chapter 96. Add a point to the swimming pool. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Su Yang did not know what to say. Eat all you can because all you know is how to eat. He was sulking after his fantasy got destroyed. He asked Chu Xia, so, how was the competition? Are there any good singers? Chu Xia swallowed the noodles and recalled what happened during the competition. It's fine, I guess. I entered the competition because no one from our class signed up, so I have to fill the quota myself. As for good singers, that I don't think I've heard anyone sing better than you. Su Yang was over the moon when he heard what she said. He realized that he loved listening to people praising him. She drank some soup after she finished and closed her eyes while letting out a satisfying sigh. She patted her slim tummy and said, I'm so full. Su Yang carefully asked, so, are we all good? Chu Xia slightly opened her eyes and glanced at him haughtily as if she was the empress. Well, since you bought me dinner, I guess we are all good. He heaved a breath of relief, but he must admit that Chu Xia was a gullible girl. After dinner, Su Yang walked Chu Xia back to her dorm. They took a stroll along the bushy path on campus. The yellow street lights under the camphor trees lit up on both sides of the path, making it look like they were walking on a dark bridge lit up by the stars from the sky. The walk felt romantic. The two of them were talkative people, but at that moment, the atmosphere suddenly turned quiet. After strolling for a while, Chu Xia took the initiative to say, I never knew that our campus is this beautiful. Su Yang nodded. I know, right? Maybe we lack the appreciation to spot its beauty. She looked at him. Or maybe we lack the heart to notice the beauty around us. He smiled. It's the same, isn't it? If you have the heart, you still can't see without appreciation. He even playfully mimicked a blind person walking, so Chu Xia got slightly angry and started to punch him again. This guy is a mood killer. After sending Chu Xia home, he returned to his rented basement. When he reached the virtual space, he saw Dini kneeling on the couch. She bowed deeply at Su Yang when she saw him and said, I'm sorry, master. What's wrong? He asked. Dini said without lifting her head, I failed to keep my emotions in check in the afternoon and didn't answer your phone call. Su-young patted her head. It's fine. Don't blame yourself too much. It's really okay. Dini moved closer to Su-yang's lap. Master, please don't be mad at me. He caressed her head. It's really fine. Just don't do it again. She looked up and nodded repeatedly. Master. I heard what your friend said earlier. I'll start learning UI and product development tonight. I'll do my best to work on our app. Su-young gave her a big thumbs up. Of course. I'll leave it to you. When you are done with this, I have a new project for you, so you'd better polish your skills. Okay. Thanks, Master. Hee hee. At night, when Su-young went to bed, the lights in the villa gradually dimmed and eventually went dark. A squarish soft blob snuck into the living room and grabbed a carrot dot-like object from the corner with one of its edges. The other edge of the square blob silenced the carrot and abducted it. The night was quiet after that. On the next day, which was a Saturday morning, while Su-young was still sleeping in his bed, Little Hus barged into his bedroom and shouted, Su-young. Su-young. Wake up. Something has happened. Something has happened. Su-young opened his puffy eyes, not having any idea what just happened. What's wrong? The husky on the bolster stared at Su-young and said, I picked up a powerful scent just now. I've never smelled something like that before. You might be rich. The term rich woke Su-young up completely. It seemed like the thought of getting rich could energize his mind. Where is this scent? Little Hus pointed outside the room with the bolster edge. At the swimming pool. Su-young bolted up, got dressed, and followed Little Hus to the swimming pool. When they got to the swimming pool, Su-young asked, Where's this chance that you picked up? Little Hus pointed at the swimming pool and said anxiously, This. It's the pool. I was swimming with Sankei early in the morning, and all of a sudden, the swimming pool smells great and the scent is very strong. Sankei swimming with Little Hus. Who are you lying to? An idiot. Su-young squinted his eyes at the bolster and his face started to twitch. The quiet Sankei playing with the naughty troublemaker, Little Hus. Su-young looked at Sankei who was also beside the swimming pool. Sank's face was cramped together and it looked like it was in pain. When it saw Su-young go over, it said, Little Hus that he abducted me. He thought I was delicious and wanted to bite my arm. Thankfully, he doesn't have a mouth. We fought for a whole night. He cut all my roots above my head and threw them into the swimming pool. Su-young had a closer look at Sank's head and noticed that all the roots were gone. Sankei originally had 7 to 8 centimeters of roots left, but the B** starred had cut them all off. Su-young turned to Little Hus who nervously said, Come on. Don't be caught up with trivial matters. The smell is really rich. And it's weakening by the second. You will never get this chance again once you miss it. Su-young sized up the husky face on Little Hus. He believed that no matter how naughty Little Hus was, the B** starred would not lie about the scent. He might have caused a problem by cutting Sank's roots, but it was not an unredeemable mistake. However, if he lied to Su-young, he would be dead. Therefore, Little Hus was telling the truth. Sank's roots must have done something to the pool water and granted it a rare opportunity. With that in mind, he tapped the system open. With the system in front of him, he noticed something strange. The system highlighted the entire swimming pool instead of the water inside the pool. Add the point to the whole swimming pool. Su-young found it outrageous. He had scanned the entire villa with the system before and had never found any item or structure that he could add points to. Could this be a great opportunity? Su-young discarded his hesitancy and used the random point he got from passing the English midterm to the swimming pool. With the point added, the swimming pool did not just gleam. It was enveloped by a layer of glowing particles, making the water look like space. The glowing particles gradually floated up into the air and spread out as if they were fireflies on a summer night. As seconds turned into minutes, the glowing particles disappeared and the swimming pool returned to normal. A hurried beep sounded in Su Yang's mind. He quickly checked the result in the system and noticed that the system notification was showing an obvious exclamation mark. High life evolution occurred. Please treat it with care and kindness. Chapter 97. Special Ability. Inequivalent exchange. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After Su Yang went through the system notification, a young man in traditional Chinese attire appeared above the swimming pool. The 15 to 16-year-old youth had a pair of puffy eyes as if he did not have enough sleep. At the same time, the system window popped up from the young man's body. Swimming pool +1. High life evolution has occurred. Acquired intermediate intellect. Acquired humanoid body. Acquired special ability. Inequivalent exchange. Remark. Brave young man, do you desire this kind of power or that kind of power? Su Yang did not know how to react when he saw the description. Did the swimming pool acquire a humanoid body? Does it mean that the point gave birth to a powerful monster? Judging from the size of it, it's like a monster from Xianxia novels reaching transformation stage 1, right? Like it transformed into its humanoid form from a swimming pool. Su Yang had the feeling that if this continued, he could add a point to a ship, a plane, or even a building. Can I add a point to the Earth at a later stage? On top of that, similar to Dini, the swimming pool had acquired intermediate intellect, plus a special ability that was recognized by the system. It was his first time finding a special ability on the monster that he added. He tapped the ability to go over it. Special ability. Inequivalent exchange, ability. You can trade with the pool deity once a day with anything you have, but you will be offered 2 items of inequivalent value in return. Choose one from the 2. Simply throw the item into the pool to use it. Note. Don't throw trash into the water. The pool deity doesn't like to sort out the trash. Remark. You can throw in a diamond and get a piece of coal in return, young man. Yeep. Another strange ability. After Su Yang read through the description, he looked at the so-called pool deity. The pool deity was standing on the surface of the pool as if he was weightless. He appeared in a traditional Chinese attire which further amplified the deity presence within him. When the pool deity caught Su Yang's gaze, he smiled harmlessly with his squinted eyes and bowed while putting his hands together in front of him. Good day, Lord Su Yang, please take care of me from now on. Yeep. A cute guy. Su Yang asked, are you the swimming pool itself? The young pool deity nodded. I'll call you Pool then. The pool deity did not reply, so Su Yang took his silence as a yes. A new monster of the transformation stage had joined the family. His presence excited the little ones, causing them to come out from their rooms. With the addition of Pool, Su Yang now had 5 little monsters in his house. The dumbest one would be Sankei, the ginseng. Life evolution failed during the process, causing it to be a little slower than others. Su Yang believed that if the life evolution had succeeded that day, Sankei might be a bigger monster like Pool because the reaction from the point. Adding was just as grand as Pool's. The next would be Gru, the twig. It was the earliest little monster Su Yang had after adding points. Since it had the simplest intellect among the others, it could not speak and did not have any special ability, so it was like having a 3-year-old around. After Gru would be little Hus, the bolster. He also had simple intellect but was a lot naughtier. He was able to fool the other little monsters and even bluff Su Yang at times. Su Yang started to suspect that the B** star had evolved without his knowing. The smartest one would be Dini, the phone. The intermediate intellect allowed her to appear in a human form inside the virtual space, but she remained as a phone in the real world. Since she was a smart girl and a quick learner, Su-young tried to raise her like a real All four of them were excited with the arrival of Pool, a senior in the form of a humanoid. They gathered around and bombarded him with questions. To be more precise, only little Hus was jumping around and asking questions. Dini was sizing up the swimming pool as if she felt sad that she could not swim anymore. Ed ceaselessly, but other than Sankei, no one understood what it said. Sankei returned to the flower pot and played dead. Su-young had a feeling that the ginseng did not reconcile with Gru. Instead, it realized the outside world was too dangerous, especially the world with little Hus around, thus it had no choice but to return to Gru. The pool deity was patient enough even though little Hus was being annoying and vexing. He smiled and explained patiently. Little Hus asked, "So, no matter what I throw into the pool, you will give me something back?" Pool deity said with a harmless look, "Of course. What if I throw Sankei in?" A question mark popped up above Sank's head. "You cannot throw in what is not yours," the pool deity explained patiently. Little Hus' husky eyes went round and round, as if some evil plan was brewing in his mind. A moment later, he asked, "Why are you in human form?" The pool deity smiled and pointed at Su-young. "Ask Su-young to add another point to you." The husky eyes on the bolster widened. "Do you mean I can become a human with another point?" "Not exactly. You can also acquire other abilities, talents, or even change your form further. Of course, there are also chances that life evolution will happen again." Little Hus barely listened to what the pool deity said. The husky stuck its tongue out and its eyes were full of admiration. It must be imagining itself as a handsome young man if life evolution happened again and transformed it into a human. If Su-young must say so himself, little Hus would turn into a naughty child instead of a handsome young man. However, the system still did not allow him to add 2 points to the same item yet, so everything would remain as a fantasy for now. Su-young wanted to test the abilities of the pool deity out, but when he glanced at his watch, he realized that it was already 9 a.m. It was a Saturday and he had to tutor Tang Xiaomi. It was not just about making 2,000 yuan per day anymore. He was also earning random points from it. Su-young had spent a lot recently to help him in the midterms, and with the last random point added to the swimming pool, he must replenish it as soon as possible. With that in mind, Su-young put aside the thought of testing the pool deity and washed up before he stormed out of his basement. He got on the subway and made his way to Tang Jing's neighborhood. This time around, when he reached the entrance, the guard no longer called Tang Jing for confirmation. He simply let Su-young in. After all, Su-young had visited Tang Jing's house many times and the guard recognized him. When he got to Tang Jing's unit, he pressed the bell, and Tang Jing welcomed him in casual clothes and an apron. She smiled brightly when she saw him. "You're here." Su-young nodded with a smile. "Yeah, I'm here." Tang Jing opened the door for Su-young, and while she removed the apron, she said, "Come have some breakfast. Xiaomi is still asleep." Su-young looked at his watch. "It's already 10 a.m. Isn't she awake yet?" Tang Jing nodded. Her eyes were filled with a loving twinkle as she said, "She insisted on playing a game last night, I let her have some fun. But she got addicted and stayed awake until 4 a.m. Even though Su-young was close to Tang Xiaomi, he spoke his mind in front of her mother, "Sister Tang, you shouldn't pamper her like that. She's still small, so you shouldn't let her get addicted to games." Tang Jing chuckled and said softly, "It's not a smartphone game. It's Sudoku. She's trying to solve 6 by 6 and 9 by 9. Su-young did not know how to respond. Sudoku. Is that what geniuses play nowadays? What was I doing when I was her age? He tried to recall what he did when he was young but realized that he did not have any entertainment back in the village. All he played with was dirt and mud. I really didn't have a childhood. Chapter 98. Little monsters watching TV together. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After Tang Jing invited Su Yang into the house, she headed back to the kitchen. A while later, she served several steamed buns, a bowl of porridge, and 2 boiled eggs on the table, and she was kind enough to invite him. Here, breakfast is served. Su Yang's stomach growled when he saw the scrumptious breakfast that Tang Jing served. Thank you. She smiled before heading to the kitchen and warming up a packet of milk for him. The two of them chatted over breakfast, and Tang Jing mentioned her 996 working schedule. She started work every day at 9 a.m., finished at 9 p.m., and worked 6 days a week, hence the number 996. Su Yang could not help but ask, Sister Tang, what do you actually do? Tang Jing looked at Su Yang with a confused look. Have I never told you about my job before? He shook his head. Nope. I'm working in the investment industry, she said. Investment? Yeah, I'm working as an angel investor for a venture capital firm. Before we invest in other companies, my company will run a background check and come up with a detailed analysis. That's my job, and this is why I'm always busy, because I need to collect all kinds of data. Tang Jing took a bite of the boiled egg and added, I guess a 996 working schedule isn't that accurate either. My position is a little special. If one of my projects suddenly stumbles across some problems, it's normal for me to work several days without rest. I guess 007 is more appropriate, she said in a joking manner. Su Yang almost spat his porridge out because of her random joke. Starts work at 0 o'clock, finishes at 0 o'clock, and works 7 days a week. 007. Yeep, nothing wrong about that, my man. After breakfast, Tang Jing woke Tang Xiaomi up and washed the little princess up before she headed for work. Tang Xiaomi was still sleepy even after her mother washed her face. Her eyes were half opened when she grumbled childishly, Su Yang sleepy. She then collapsed into Su Yang's arms and fell asleep. The little girl must have slept very late yesterday. Su Yang did not wake her up as he carried her to the couch and put a blanket over her. Tang Xiaomi finally woke up in the afternoon. She stretched her body and looked at Su Yang with her big googly eyes. Su Yang. You're here. Su Yang had been chatting with the pool deity through his phone, and when Tang Xiaomi woke up, he put his hand over her head and said, I've been here since morning. Come on. You've been asleep for too long. It's time for lunch. After lunch, Su Yang finally started the mathematics tuition for the day. 2 to 3 hours later, Tang Xiaomi lost her interest in learning. Su Yang saw the bored expression on her face, and he poured a glass of water for her to break the boredom. However, the little imp did not rest at all. She took her workbook to Su Yang and said, Su Yang, can you do something about my mommy? What's wrong with her? He asked. Tang Xiaomi put her workbook in front of him and said, since you weren't around during the weekdays, she gave me exercises every day, and she would check my work according to the provided answers every night when she comes back. But all the answers are wrong and she doesn't know how to improvise. Her words piqued his interest. The provided answers are wrong. Tang Xiaomi pouted and said, the answers are written by other people. Why can't they be wrong? She then flipped the workbook to that particular page and showed Su Yang what she meant. The question required her to fill in the blanks based on the provided image. The image was of the 4 characters from Journey to the West, and the question asked how many people were in the picture. Tang Xiaomi had written 2 and had received a red cross beside the answer. Confused, Su Yang asked, there are 4 people here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why did you write 2? Tang Xiaomi angrily pointed at Pigsy and Yukong. These 2 are animals. Su Yang did not know what to say. What the? Well, she's not wrong. She took his silence as a sign of agreement, so she flipped to another page and pointed at another question. Look at this one. Su Yang looked at the question that she pointed at. The question required her to find the difference between a watermelon, a pear, a pineapple, and a duck. It was a simple question and there should not be any argument either. The watermelon, pear, and pineapple were fruits and the duck was an animal. Therefore, the duck should be circled out. However, Tang Xiaomi pouted and said, I circled the watermelon but mommy said it's wrong. Then, why did you choose the watermelon? He asked in surprise. She looked at Su Yang with her big googly eyes and said childishly, why isn't it the watermelon? Only the watermelon is green. Green, Su Yang's head started to hurt. Are all children this difficult to teach nowadays? But she does have a point. After some thought, Su Yang gave up. Why am I arguing this with a child? Forget about that. I'll teach you the binary linear equation. Tang Xiaomi was stunned when he moved on instead of taking her side. The little imp was a lot smarter after a week, and given her young age, the unusual ideas in her mind were endless. She viewed a lot of things differently compared to an adult and some questions even caught Su Yang off guard. Thus, Su Yang accompanied her and tried to play along with her unusual questions until Tang Jing came back. Like any other day, Tang Jing came back after 9 p.m. and Tang Xiaomi was a little unhappy. When her mother came into the house, the little imp pouted and grumbled, look at the time. It's late now. Aren't you afraid that bad people will kidnap you? Do you know you are a pretty woman? Tang Jing giggled when she heard what her daughter said. No woman could resist praise at their beauty, even a woman with a child. Tang Jing pinched Tang Xiaomi's cheeks and said, I'm sorry. Mommy is wrong. I'll come back earlier tomorrow. Tang Xiaomi then smiled happily after her mother cheered her up. After having dinner with the mother and daughter, Su Yang took the subway back. He added a point to the swimming pool and got the pool deity into his villa. He was actually looking forward to testing it out. If it was not for the money in the random point, Su Yang would have left earlier. When he reached the virtual villa, he walked out of his bedroom and saw the 5 little monsters watching the TV in the living room. Animal Planet was showing on the TV and all 5 of them glued their eyes to the screen. Even the quiet Sankei opened its eyes and watched beside Gru's pot. The TV was showing 2 lions fighting each other on the Great Plains. It seemed like they were fighting for the alpha position. After a fierce fight, the veteran lion defeated the younger one and expelled it from the pride. The living room was filled with sorrowful cries after that. Su Yang did not know what happened. He saw the pool deity stand up with a smiley face and bowed at everyone with his hands in front of him. I hereby thank everyone for taking care of my business. A tray appeared in his hand and he walked to Dini, Gru, Sankei, and Little Hus. Dini looked sad when she took a purple Grandpa Mao one from her pocket and placed it on the tray. Gru put a carton of milk on it instead. As for Sankei, it cut off 1 centimeter of its roots from its left arm and placed it on the tray. Chapter 99. Complete random inequivalent exchange. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When it was Little Hus' turn, the husky eyes were big and wide as he stared at the pool deity. I'm not giving anything. The pool deity smiled. Lord Hus, if it's laid, it's played. You wouldn't want us to look down on you, would you? Little Hus did not care about others' opinions of him. His gaze started to drift away and it looked like he was trying to run. Of course, aside from fleeing, he did not forget to say, I don't have anything left. I've lost everything. The pool deity said with a smile, Lord Hus, you might have lost a piece of chocolate in a bag of dog food, but you still have another piece of chocolate, 2 bags of chips, a bag of cookies, another bag of dog food and a shaver in your den. Little Hus instantly looked gloomy. Having someone that could read his mind around him did not feel good. Su Yang finally understood what was going on. The little monsters were gambling. He cleared his throat to announce his arrival before he said, "What are you guys doing?" Before the pool deity said anything, Little Hus jumped up. Su-Yang. Su-Yang. He tricked us and wants to take our things. Su-Yang already knew what happened, so he grunted coldly at Little Hus. "You loser, pay up what you lost. Bring the things out." Little Hus did not expect Su-Yang to take the pool deity's side. He felt defeated as he hopped back to his den for the bag of chips. The pool deity took the bag of chips with a smile. Just when he wanted to thank Su-Yang, Su-Yang grabbed the tray of spoils from him, much to his shock. "Gambling is illegal. All the spoils will be confiscated," Su-Yang said. He then took a paper bag from the tea-table drawer and poured everything inside before he returned the empty tray to the pool deity. The pool deity received the empty tray with a blank look. He wanted to cry but failed to shed a tear. Su-Yang cleared his throat again. "As for the previous gambling spoils, I'll let you off this time. No more gambling in the future." The pool deity looked dejected as he said, "A tiny gamble is merely entertainment, my lord. It's barely even a gamble. We are just guessing the results from the TV." Nevertheless, Su-Yang turned a deaf ear to the pool deity. Little Hus hopped to Su-Yang and nuzzled against his leg when he saw what happened. "Su-Yang, Su-Yang, give me back the bag of chips." Su-Yang chuckled coldly and kicked the bolster away. "You be ****, you stole the chips from me." With the bag of confiscated spoils, he went to the swimming pool and wanted to test the pool deity's ability. He was actually thinking about what to throw inside when he had been in the subway, and now with the bag of spoils, he did not need to think anymore. He searched the bag of spoils and decided to throw the bag of chips into the swimming pool. Back in the living room, the pool deity was calculating his losses with the other 4 little monsters when all of a sudden, as if something within him was turned on, he froze. His body then disappeared from the living room, leaving the other 4 little monsters in confusion. On the other hand, Su-Yang saw a completely different scene. When he tossed the bag of chips into the swimming pool, an option window popped up and asked him for the trading confirmation. Su-Yang tapped on "Yes." The entire swimming pool shone brightly and the pool deity appeared above the water. His body was glowing and his face was expressionless. The glow from the water that was reflected on his traditional Chinese attire made him look like a real divine being, but his tiny eyes made him look funny. However, no one ever said that a deity could not have small eyes. It seemed it was the pool deity's first time too. He floated on the water for a long while before he smiled. He lifted both his hands and said kindly, "Lord Su-Yang who has lost his way, what did you lose in my swimming pool? Is it this?" A trash can appeared in his left hand. "Trash can." He then lifted his right hand said, "Or this, a striped seahorse." A trash can and a seahorse. What the hell? It's so random. It isn't even related to the bag of chips. Su-Yang thought about what he should take. He did not know where to keep the seahorse, so the better choice would be the trash can. He said, "Seahorse." Very well. The pool deity moved his right hand forward and a blob of water with the seahorse inside floated to Su-Yang. Su-Yang caught it with his hands, but the blob of water did not break. He softly poked it. It felt soft and wet as if he was holding a balloon or water. Interesting. The little seahorse stood in the blob of water and looked at Su-Yang. Su-Yang sized the seahorse up before he asked, "Pool, give me the trash can too. I don't have an aquarium for this seahorse." The pool deity did not reply, but the trash can disappeared from his hand. "Stingy much," Su-Yang grumbled. The pool deity remained silent. He then jumped up and dove into the swimming pool. After the water splashed, the pool deity was nowhere to be found. He must have returned to his body. Su-Yang took the blob of water with the seahorse inside to the bathroom and put it into a basin. Strange enough, after the blob of water was put inside, the shape crumbled. Fortunately, the basin was big enough for the seahorse to stand. Otherwise, the little guy might have a hard time. Su-young sized the seahorse up in the basin again. He suddenly felt proud. People usually had goldfishes in their aquarium, but he had a seahorse in his basin. I guess I'm a lot cooler than other people. Speaking of which, how should I change the water? This is seawater, right? A seahorse can only live in seawater, right? Does Pool offer after sale service? If he doesn't, must I drink 500 milliliters of seawater? What does a seahorse eat anyway? Sand. Su-young started to regret choosing the seahorse. A new pet had arrived in his villa and he did not know what to do with it. Can I ask Pool for a refund? If he doesn't want to refund me, what should I do with it? Soak it in alcohol and make seahorse liquor. As the seahorse in the basin looked like it sensed Su-young's thoughts, its body shivered all of a sudden. Su-young watched the seahorse wriggle around the water. He really should have gotten the trash can instead, but neither both the seahorse nor the trash can could make up for the bag of chips that he had thrown into the pool. Fortunately, the bag of chips was something he had confiscated from the illegal gambling session. Su-young took the basin with the seahorse out and gave it to Dini. Maybe a girl might be interested in this, I think. The next day, a Sunday morning, Su-young tossed Gru's carton of milk into the swimming pool. A moment later, Pool appeared with another seahorse and a rotten apple. Su-young asked, "Why another seahorse?" The pool deity said, "My lord, I don't know. It's completely random." Su-young had no choice but to pick the seahorse. On Monday morning, Su-young woke up extra earlier and tossed a set of test papers that he had written into the swimming pool. However, Pool came up with the options of a seahorse and a seahorse. This time around, Pool offered him 2 seahorses of different sizes. Veins popped up on Su-young's forehead. Don't tell me this is completely random as well. The pool deity almost cried as he explained, "It really is completely random." Su-young did not believe him. He blacklisted him and grouped him together with Little Huss as the little monsters that he should not believe and must keep an eye on. The weekend flew by in the blink of an eye. Other than the 2 random points that he had gotten from Tang Xiaomi, Su-young also got a total of 3 seahorses in different sizes. The 3 seahorses synchronized their wriggling in the basin and the movements really made them look like a family. Tang Xiaomi's mission also ended over the weekend. Su-young got a total of 5 random points from Tang Xiaomi. He had used 3 to save himself from the midterms and he planned to keep the remaining 2 for emergencies. After breakfast, Su-young put Dini in charge of the seahorses before he went out of the virtual space. He realized that it was drizzling outside when he reached his basement. Shanghai had slowly entered its hottest and most humid season throughout the year. Su-young had rented a basement because of the cheap rent and it had been spring back then, so it had not been as humid and hot. He finally knew why the basement rent was so cheap. The intense humidity. The moment he got out of his virtual space, he felt like he was covered in a layer of mist. Fortunately, he now spent most of his time in the virtual space, hence it was not a big problem. If he did not have the virtual space, staying in a humid basement for a long time would probably affect his health. When he was on campus, Su-young realized that all the students were talking about the campus singing competition. He did not know when the discussion started, but it seemed like the competition had become an important event for Shanghai University. No one recognized him anymore along the way. Su-young could not help but feel like a has-been. He sighed as he walked towards the lecture building, but before he even made it there, he saw his other lecturer, old Zhou, who was surprisingly walking out of the campus. Going out of campus early in the morning. Something's up. Chapter 100. Hani Lin Jiuli on campus. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Su Yang sized old Zhou up and realized that his disheveled and oily appearance was gone. Old Zhou cleaned the few strands of remaining hair on his head and wore a brand new jersey, making him look energetic. Su Yang felt like something was not right. Is old Zhou's life welcoming its second wind? He usually stays in his office and barely goes anywhere. All he ever does is drink goji berry tea from his thermos flask and read the newspaper. What's with the unusual get-up today? With that in mind, Su Yang greeted old Zhou first. Morning, Mr. Zhou. Old Zhou smiled at Su Yang, painting a few more wrinkles on his face. Oh, Su Yang, going to class? Yes, sir. Are you not going off? Asked Su Yang, but he quickly realized that his question did not sound right. Way to go, genius. Who leaves work so early in the morning? To his surprise, old Zhou spaced out for a moment before answering, yeah, I don't have any classes today, so I'm going off early. Better pay attention in class, he continued as he waved at Su Yang. He then walked away without looking back. Su Yang saw old Zhou's figure walking away from his sight. Something isn't right. That if old Zhou doesn't have any classes today, he could have just stayed at home from the start. He came to campus early in the morning just so he could not go back. Something is obviously not right. Unfortunately, Su Yang always kept his curiosity in check. Old Zhou's strange behavior had nothing to do with him because he knew that everyone had secrets. When he reached the lecture hall, it was already half filled. Lu Yi and Chu Xia were already there, sitting together. Chu Xia was whispering to her while Lu Yi nodded repeatedly. The two of them looked like some European noble ladies from the 70s or 80s gossiping about something. Su Yang made fun of the girls in his mind while he walked to his seat. It was then that he heard a scream, and the whole classroom, even the entire campus, came alive. The students in the classroom heard the scream too, so every one of them ran to the window excitedly for a peek before they dashed out of the lecture hall. Su Yang did not know what happened. He perked his ears, hoping to pick up some clues about the situation. She's here, she came this early. Why is she so early? Come on, let's go. We are having a class. The class is no longer important. Han Yi is more important. Han Yi. She's here. Su Yang stood up and walked to the window. He saw a noisy crowd further away, surrounding several people who walked in from outside of the campus. It seemed like Han Yi had arrived. While Su Yang was watching from afar, a sweet voice entered his ear, Mr. President, what are you looking at? He turned around to see Chu Xia with Lu Yi beside her. Su Yang said, nothing in particular. I heard Han Yi is here. Ha! Chu Xia was shocked. You just heard it now. Our group has already been talking about it for 2 days. Last Friday, the university said Han Yi would be coming to our campus this week, and I got news on Saturday that she will be coming early Monday. They said she's going to meet the judges beforehand, so our group went nuts. They even said they wanted to organize a welcome party. Don't you even read the chat? Good question. I really didn't know anything. From the moment he became president, he muted the chat group. On top of that, because the lousy chat notifications reached 99+ daily, he did not have the mood or time to go through the tedious chat history. As for the reason behind the massive amount of messages, Su Yang found out after observing for a few days. A majority of the fan club members were girls. Whenever girls got together, it was only normal for the chat to get long and tedious. Speaking of which, why is a female celebrity having these many female fans? I always thought a female celebrity would only attract male fans. After he discarded the questions out of his mind, Su Yang simply said, of course, I knew about it. It must have just slipped my mind. I told you I've been busy recently, so you are in charge of the fan group. You'd better do a good job, Vice President. Chu Xia smiled and said, okay. I'll go organize the fan event right now. Bye. Mr. President. Before she left, Su-young quickly asked, now. What about the class? She beamed beautifully. I dragged Ms. Chu into our fan group, so she will also be there cheering. Class is delayed for 10 minutes or so. No biggie. This university is getting stranger by the day. After Chu Xia and Lu Yi left, Su-young looked around and realized he was left alone with another student, Chuan. The hardworking Chuan was reading a book. Great, the students and the lecturer have left altogether. Who would have thought that I, the bad student who never listens in class, would stay behind? Su-young stood by the window and looked at the ever-growing crowd. He spotted a lot of familiar faces. Chu Xia, Lu Yi, Chu Xiaomeng, and Bold Zhou. Su-young rubbed his eyes and looked closely. It really was old Zhou. Old Zhou, the sly B****starred, was shouting Han Yi's name together with the other students. The excitement on his face was something he had never displayed in class before. Judging from his expression, he must have gotten the news beforehand and followed Han Yi from outside into the campus. He lied to me by saying he's going off early. This sly B****starred. Disrespectful. I'll tell his wife the next time. Su-young wrote down old Zhou's demerit in the little booklet he had. After a while though, Su-young started to lose interest. He never knew why people like to ship idols and celebrities. Aren't they human beings with eyes and a nose as well? What's so special about them? An extra nose or a third eye? With that in mind, Su-young wanted to go back to his seat and look at his phone, but it was then that he saw a familiar figure among the crowd. The person was wearing an elegant floral dress coupled with heels. It was Lin Jili. Did she come with Han Yi? Despite the two of them being celebrities, Lin Jili was not popular at all. All the students surrounded Han Yi, cheering her name loudly and asking for her autograph. No one noticed Lin Jili's presence, let alone ask for her autograph. Maybe it was because she had only starred in 3 drama series and was lesser known. The saddest thing was that she had come in with Han Yi, but because of the passionate fans, she was pushed away, and a moment later, she was squeezed out of the crowd. A female celebrity standing there all alone while the fans cheered on another celebrity was a pitiful sight. Su-young brushed his chin and pondered upon the situation. He suddenly had a lame but interesting idea in his head. Maybe I can do something like this. 5 minutes later, he went out of the class with a notebook and a pen. He walked up to Lin Jili and said, "Are you Lin Jia?" Lin Jili was spacing out as she watched the fans drown Han Yi, but when she heard someone call her name, she was pulled back to her senses. She turned around and saw Su-young. At first, she was shocked because she thought he had recognized her. Su-young then said, "I really like the drama that you starred in. May I have your autograph?"